they noticed that she wouldn't cry when there were a lot of loud noises made. So they moved her crib over to the phone, next to the phone, and when the phone would ring, she wouldn't respond like some of the other kids in her family. So they took her to the doctor, and I guess after going to many different physicians and stuff, hearing specialists, stuff like that, they said that her deafness was nerve, and there was nothing that they could do. And my aunt tells me that the comment that they got was, all the money in the world cannot make her hear. Well, that's probably not true today. It's very possible that the cochlear could have made her hear, you know. And so, anyway, mother attended the Missouri State School for the Deaf, which was in Fulton. And just to give you an idea, when my grandparents took her to the school, mother knew no signs except for what the family taught them. And mother said that they would make signs up for the way people looked. Like the man up the road had handlebar mustache. And Mom said that her parents would say, car, go, and do this. And then she knew they were gonna get in the car and go see this person. She had a sister that had a twitch. So whenever they were talking about the sister, they do the twitch, you know. And so they just had to make up their own signs. And Mom said she remembers one day they were all sitting around. She had 6 sisters, including herself. She was the 6th, and 2 brothers. Mom said they were all sitting around the table eating their breakfast, and she said all of a sudden she looked up and everybody was gone. And she said, Grandpa had said, we're going to town, go get ready, let's go, you know, and they all got up and left, and Mom said she, you know, wasn't aware that they were going anywhere until she looked up and said, then finally somebody told her, you know, what they were doing. She figured it out. But anyway, and so when she went to school, she was 4, and it was like an institution, you know. She stayed at the school. At 4. And when she went in, she tells me that she remembers going in and sitting between her parents in this big office with the superintendent of schools across from her, and everybody's talking. The mother knows nothing. She's just looking around, you know, knows they're talking, has no clue what's going on around her. So then they take her, they show her her dorm room where she's gonna live, and she meets other deaf children. They have no way of communicating yet because they haven't learned any signs. And so gradually they learned how to communicate with each other, but it was very, very, for a long time, very scary. And Mom said she thought that they'd just taken her there and left her, that they weren't coming back. There was no way to tell her that, but she wasn't alone. She had a bunch of other kids that were just like her. So anyway, then when her parents came back, it was a thrill for her. But by that time, she was learning the basic signs, which good morning, hello, breakfast, lunch, bed. So, and then the finger spelling. So anyway, Mother has amazing stories that she shared with us about her childhood when she was little, and I would listen to those stories and think, oh my gosh, how in the world did you handle that? When you don't know that you have a choice, that's what you do. So anyway, my dad's much different situation. He and his brother were born hearing, lost their hearing, my grandmother said, through whooping cough. And then my dad was 12, my uncle was 9. And they were in school, and the teacher called my grandmother in and said, they're not hearing, you know, something's not right, they're not hearing. So they took them to Kansas City to the State School for the Deaf, had their hearing tested, and sure enough, they had significant hearing loss. And so they left them at the school and went back to Wichita, which is where they were from. And I have read letters from my grandmother to her cousin or something that lived in Olathe at the time, about how horrible it was for her to leave her children there, you know. And so then they soon sold their place in Wichita and moved to Olathe so they could be close to where